3 games. That's right. Here we go. This should be a good one. High view, and it is going to be Rus versus England. Now, this should be fun because the interesting part to me is that DeMusliM is not playing England. If there was any player you'd expect to whip out the good old English on high view, it would actually be good old Benny. But instead, he's gone for the more kind of expected, the powerful, the potent Rus, who I don't think anyone would be surprised to see this Civ on this map. I mean, I'm still of the opinion that this is like one of the home maps, right? Obviously, you've got the tedious, blunt, simple choices like, oh, Rus on Boulder Bay, woo. But if you were to give them a land map, I actually think that this Civ is fantastic on this one. You know, they can not be starved out of gold like other Civs, because obviously they can play towards the Golden Gate and hunting instead. They can benefit a lot from sneaking out into the boars, controlling those kind of like stealth patches with a single wooden fortress to protect them. And I think they actually utilize that quite well. There's also the double TC play that we've seen a lot more players do that is also hidden information until you instantly do it because of the Golden Gate once again. I think there's a lot of maneuvers. That's before we even get into the discussion around hunting cabins and the huge, immense value you get out of hunting cabins due to all the straggler trees, allowing you to generate more gold per minute from their placements. So overall, I think like this is still not been fully realized for the Rus, but I think this is definitely one of the better maps, if not the best land map right now. Meanwhile, England, that translates to, they can kind of do okay. I think England struggle a lot on this map, though. So one cool thing the English can do against certain civs like the French is they can actually starve out the French and deny them the ability to get knights, because usually the gold veins, which we can see through this generation, are more riskily placed, right? Like, if you imagine Lombos in this situation, if DeMusliM goes on the gold, he's getting sniped on both, right? There's no way he can protect himself with the TC. Same if you look on the Viper's side, right? His gold is far enough out. If you got around the back, snipe, snipe, snipe. Optimally, this would be a terrible, like, generation for England if it's the other way around, right? Because if your opponent has his gold at the back of his base, it means you're essentially pinching yourself from behind where he can actually flank you with horsemen and there's no escape. But, like, he's got the optimal layout here because if DeMusliM does go on gold, it's at the front of his base. Also, DeMusliM is playing it as the Rus, and while I said you don't need the gold, if you do find yourself in a build that requires you to go on the gold early, say you start spamming knights in feudal, then you're going to leave yourself exposed. And defending these is a lot more frustrating for the Rus because of the high cost of their outposts. Remember, the wooden fortresses almost double the power of normal outposts in terms of health and almost in capacity for garrisoning. They do almost cost double the resource as well. Instead of the 100 costing 175. So it is very pricey to get into when you have to invest in these areas early on to protect your essential economy. It's why you're going to see instead DeMusliM hard pushing himself towards the game side of things, already cracking the tier 2 bounty, and already looking to scale out more of these scouts. In fact, I think he's stopping at 3 now. Yeah, so he's locked himself in at 3 because he wants to tech up. But I wouldn't be surprised if he pushes out more shortly. Just get up to like 4 or 5, possibly even 6, and look to play into pro scouts. It is a little bit risky because up against England, there's always the risk associated that they just move out with spearmen, lombos early and deny you. But ideally, you want to play like this condensed economy. I'm not expecting DeMusliM to play necessarily hard into feudal. I wouldn't be surprised if he tries to rush into castle and just get knights out to counter out England. But there's definitely some flexy here. I've seen some Rus players go for the triple, quadruple archery range drop that is actually floatable for your economy very early on, a lot earlier than a lot of civs, because of the power of the wooden fortress, because of the extra 20% generation, in conjunction with the Golden Gate trades. It allows you to actually be able to afford it. So it could be that we get a very dragged out long feudal on both sides, or it could end up being DeMusliM rushes up to castle, and then Viper is forced to pivot, reacting, and get castle himself. The Viper, already with a very early switch over into farmlands, is getting wheelbarrow tech complete now. On the other side, it looks like DeMusliM is forgoing wheelbarrow. Not too surprising. One of the frustrating but nice thing, like it's nice and it's bad things about playing the Rus is obviously like your hunting cabin is also like it's not just your scout generator, it's also the place you get wheelbarrow. The reason this is good and bad is like it's great. You've got a second building that gets scouts early, right? And you can get it very early, incredibly early. In fact, you can get it in Dark Age, where like most people would have to wait until they can build a stable for 150. But here's where it gets awkward: is that it costs 100 wood. So you can't just go, I'll build a second hunting cabin and then I'll get my wheelbarrow in that. It's not 100 wood out your economy at this early phase. And this is why, like, it can be a little bit frustrating and a weird kind of delicate balance, because on top of that, if you are generating more scouts, you want this, pro scouts. There's so many kind of finite balances, like, I think that still like, need to be optimally tuned with the Rus in terms of, like, what players have figured out, because the build order has varied. I've seen some players prioritize wheelbarrow a lot more heavily, but usually in this type of matchup especially, you want to get pro scouts immediately, because although your opponent is not going to play towards them, you want to be able to extract value from pro scouts without having to lose a dozen scouts in the process. Because you have to understand, you are up against England, there are going to be longbows early, and they are going to try to deny you from getting those huge bulks of food surplus into your economy. So, more assassination, DeMusliM. Now the 450, what? I mean, I saw the bout at the back, but don't tell me. I think Viper, yeah, oh my god, Viper didn't see it until late, and I think Viper, he's playing on one scout, isn't he? He has to be. Yeah, this is one scout. That could hurt him dearly. I mean, I know the English timings are very fixed, and they're very optimized right now, because I'd say if any servers had, like, the same build order, like, the same kind of expectation of the way to play the game the most, it's England. But that feels like a big whoopsie-daisy a trip down the stairs to, like, have not gone for a second scout and denied your opponent bounty. Because DeMusliM, he's actually going to crack the tier 3 bounty without the boars. That is phenomenal for Rus. You are so over the moon. You're skipping up and down. You're doing jumping jacks right now. I think, has he got one more sheep? No, I think he needs one more sheep. So right now, he's locked out by 5. Okay, that is frustrating right there. And I don't know if there's really anything left. Oh, there it is. Billy the sheep. I don't know if he's going to find it, though. Why would you look there, right? Be so great for him if he did. In the meantime, though, he's going to prep the double stable. Is going to be the knights now coming out. And Archer's moving forward, but Viper, he hasn't invested in a Rex. It's finally down. These Spearmen are going to be a little bit delayed coming out. And he is now going to spot the double stable at the back as he wraps in, keeping an eyeball on what the DeMusliM scouts are doing. And Viper, yeah, that's pristine parking. You could just hang out here. So you see archery range and stable. Sorry, it wasn't double stable. It was composition. I like this a lot better. I think if you just go hard into the knights, you're going to get countered. This way, I think he has like this kind of stable composition. I love what he's doing here as well. A lot of players would just keep pushing knights. That's very pricey. Instead, he's going to have his tanky unit on the horseback, right, with early knights. Then he switches into horseman. I think this is a much better opening for the Rus than just going hardcore knights. The reason being is, like, knights are fantastic. Yes, we've seen how much France can do with them. But it's France that we've seen do it with them. There's a reason we don't see Rus do it with them, and it's because they don't get the bonus damage after a charge, so it's harder to insta-assassinate units. Then also, there's the fact that they don't get chivalry, so they can't heal over time. So this big investment of 240 resources, any damage it takes, it's not shrugging off. It's done. It's pure pain. So that's something that I think that a lot of players start to clock with the early night spam. It can be a little bit fragile because in this stage in your economy, that's a lot to invest. It's the same logic as why we don't see man-at-arms investments early on in, like, you know, Vanguard and early man-at-arms, because, you know, you're paying quite a premium for a unit that, you know, is very slow, doesn't do much. While with knights, it's not as much about them being slow. It's just they cost so much, and they are fairly susceptible to just dying against, especially when you consider how strong things like spears are to counter them right now. All right, so more horsemen coming out. DeMusliM, I wonder if he's considering, like, maybe going for a TC expansion. I wouldn't be against it in this type of game. You have to be kind of regulating your vision, right? You have to make sure your opponent isn't getting too aggressive. Like, if you see Viper go all in on, like, a gazillion longbows, then you're like, okay, I can't actually go for a second TC. But if you feel like he's just not posturing for an end, which he's not right now, right? Like, he's actually gone very defensive. And I think you open up the floodgates to instantly just choose to go into double TC, something that you can naturally do ahead of England, because England tend to wait until they go to Castle Age. And the reason you can do it naturally ahead of them is, well, one, you get this 20% additional wood drop-off, so you're generating more wood. And then on top of that, you have the trades for the Golden Gate, so you don't even need to go onto stone, which means you save the 50 wood from a mining camp, and then you save the, like, loss of your worker force going elsewhere to work that stone line. But instead, no. DeMusliM, he wants to ramp up. I wonder if he's going to prep a blacksmith here. The fact he doesn't have a blacksmith right now, this says to me that DeMuslim's just playing for, like, mid-map control. This isn't about ending the game. It's about solidifying a lead. The problem he has right now is look what Viper's done. Oh, this is going to be frustrating. So DeMusliM, like, he's going to be in position for an assault, but it might be difficult to find value with Lombos and the double fire from the town center here. Like, if he had the blacksmith ready, he might just drop a ram as soon as he sees the tech up. Instead, he's going to probe. Moves in. Will force troops away, as well as the villagers, which are going to garrison. And he will die for this. A lot of scouts and a lot of horsemen here. However, most of this damage just might be superficial at this rate. Not able to snipe out the villagers. He will get rid of the defense force. But most of his cavalry is gone, and his archers won't be able to do much on their own. Instead, the tech up will continue. Viper, in fact, investing even more into it, as there's no point working the fields that are assaulted. And that's a lot of dead horses. Tesco's going to come by, and they're going to hoover that up and stick it in the meat department at this rate. Movement through onto the villager line. He now sees the tech up. However, I think it's too late for DeMusliM to do much about this. Villagers will continue the construction. They'll complete it. Maybe one or two of them die. But there's no denying Viper is about to take an eco lead in the next few minutes. A nice drawback. Just trying to peel the villagers back as they take too much damage. But a little bit too late. If you had textiles, maybe. But tech up is there nonetheless. And now Viper has that padding. He'll force the archers away. DeMusliM with the heavy investment. Now nowhere near ready for his own tech up. I say that. No, I'm wrong. And I'm glad I am. We've got a fairly interesting game here. DeMusliM. I looked at the numbers. I looked at how little they were increasing. Then when we switch over, we see DeMusliM invest 21 people into tech up as soon as he sees the tech up from Viper himself. But make no mistake, folks. Viper will still now start to generate an eco lead. He's up in Castle Age, which means he's now getting even more value out of the influence of the mill on these farms. And then in conjunction with that, he has double TC. Meanwhile, DeMusliM is still only 1. We'll have to see if that changes anytime soon. The issue that DeMusliM has is he can't easily go into double TC because of the format of his base. Remember what we talked about like saving gold, like saving wood rather, on building a mining camp and just like trading gold for stone? That's great. However, where are you getting your gold? Because right now, DeMusliM's very much playing the old ruse, right? Where you just don't, like, you don't do anything on the gold. You just go straight into horse archers, la 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 la, the world is not a problem. Obviously, he won't necessarily go into horse archers this game, but he needs gold elsewhere. And this is a cool play. Yes, DeMusliM. He's going to be dropping the hunting cabins. Such an underrated play on this map. You've cracked it, right? Like, you're up at 570. You killed one of the boars. So now when you tap down this hunting cabin, this cabin right here is probably going to generate, I'd say about 50? It's got to be about 50. This one over here, even better. This one's going to be phenomenal. This one might be 60. Maybe I've seen some push close to 70. Maybe I'm getting a little bit too excited. Okay, it won't be 70. I could see this being 50 to 60. This should be like 40 to 50, though. And that's going to be a lot of passive gold. That's going to float him. Then it becomes important that he doesn't give mid-map control to Viper, because that's when that backfires. The way you play this strategy around the hunting cabins is you have to be the aggressor, because you can't expose it. It's a heavy investment, but oh, just 2 longbows. No! Look how injured they are as well. DeMusliM, he has to run away, so he doesn't get the hunting cabin complete. He can at least do the southern one. 31 gold. Okay, I'm a liar. I'm sorry. I'm a big, filthy liar. I admittedly expected that to be a bit better. Maybe if he wiggled it in, it would have got up to 40. This one should be a 50 if it goes up, though. Oh, the villager gets sniped. I mean, he can run a new one out, but it's still wasted time, right? This is still frustrating for DeMusliM. And it's still always 1 TC. And he needs these hunting cabins up quickly because they're meant to just float your economy. They're meant to allow you to not need a second TC, or potentially you still go for a second TC later, but then you catch up to your opponent and you have passive eco advantage. Because right now you're getting the gold trickle from the relics, you'll get the gold trickle from the hunting cabins, and that's something that Viper can't match until Imperial Age, when he gets these beautiful enclosures and then generates gold from his farmlands, which is far off for him. I do love this play though. Viper is getting the monastery. The issue I have with this though is he doesn't have anything to protect. Oh, well, hello. Nice move. Double Knight does it. And oh no, DeMusliM! The double value for Viper. He at least cancelled the hunting cabin, so he won't lose out on the return of resources there. But this is frustrating for him. He was hoping to snake in and snatch value off of these wood lines without Viper ever looking at them. And this was all because of this original move, right? There, it's 40 gold in the end, okay? See, I lied. I'm sorry. I'm jumping the gun. I'm expecting too much, aren't I? But to highlight why he does this move, he got scouted on this one. So Viper knows that he's playing for hunting cabins. So Viper logically is going to move to his side, right? He's going to try to deny around the wood lines, hunt these down, burn them down. The less likely thing is Viper looking at his own wood lines. The issue DeMusliM had with this, something that maybe he didn't consider in the moment, is Viper is going to patrol these areas while there's relics in the neighborhood because he wants to solidify his control of them because he's dropped the monastery, so he needs the value. And then on top of that, he knows that DeMusliM wants to plant them because he has these warrior monks because he went to the Abbey of Trinity. So really well played by Viper to identify this. He might be buffered off this time, though. Spearman moving in. And there's enough here to butcher the monk. Oh, they see him. They know. The goose is about to be cooked. And he'll try for the wall law, but that's going to give enough time for all the spears to just surround a good lord. And a nice move there. So DeMusliM will be able to control this one as well. Knights will just move on to a new objective, realize that there's nothing they can do in such a small quantity against such a large quantity of spears. In the meantime, Viper will look to at least grab one of these relics. And this one should be successful. Warrior Monk is not going to be good enough. I love that Viper is starting to extend influence around his base as well. He's dropping these outposts. It's very critical on Lipany. Like this heads-up play. If you know there's going to be a fight taking place in the midfield, you want to be the one with the vision advantage. It's why we can probably see that shift from both players, in fact. Like this hunting cabins, the other cool thing they do, as you can see, they're not just generating gold. This one, 45. This is what I was talking about with the Stealth Forest, by the way. It's phenomenal gold generation. Like, it's doing more gold generation than this or this one next to true woodlines. That's how good Stealth Forests are. It's deceptive as well, because you wouldn't think it. But back to the original point about these hunting cabins. They are outposts. They're cheaper outposts, right? They're not going to defend you, but they're going to defend you on the vision game. They're going to give you that edge to know what's coming. And it's more cost efficient because although this costs 100 wood, it's generating resources while still being a vision maintainer. Meanwhile, if you want to go for outposts, outposts isn't going to generate you resources. Instead, it's going to cost you a hefty 175. Viper just continues that network, right? He's going to give himself the backup resources in the north corner. He's looking to extend on the south one as well. He wants to make sure that, like, there's no tricky flank attacks coming from DeMusliM, and also he has that next layer to his resource bank that he can tap into safely. I wouldn't be surprised if Viper starts to extend his walling just to try and make sure that that threat never comes in. He might not feel the need to, though, because if we look at the composition, something that Viper would have seen, DeMusliM has gone hard in the Spearman. So he's all about, like, a clear, emphatic push-in. It's not about raids in this game. Even with the horse archers, it's not really about raids. And there's going to be a keep coming out from Viper. So I understand he's going to need a layer his protection here. Meanwhile, Horseman, he snitches. We talked about this on this map, right? Some of them can benefit the roost, especially that food gathering rate. The fact that you want to move out these hunting boars. You want to actually be able to get that huge food influx. It's something we expected. And it's so much more likely when DeMusliM was playing 1TC. He did finally go for a secondary one, but he's still trailing, so he needs to make up the difference. It is only a 7-point differential now, though. So it has to be highlighted that DeMusliM is gap closing, and at the same time, he's getting efficient food gathering with a 15% buff on top of going for the hunting game. It is giving him a slight edge in certain areas. I mean, we can see on the numbers, DeMusliM, he's ahead on the food. And only 4 more people working on it. That's a decent margin considering it's only a 4-point differential on the villager count. So overall, DeMusliM definitely looking very healthy. He's scaling this army, but he needs it in soon, and his in may come a little bit too late in the center. Instead, he's going to wrap to the north. And that is buying time. Much needed time. Viper didn't want to overinvest in the castle construction. Only 3 people working on this right now. Means he might still get sniped. Moving in. He's given too much ground right now. He has to. It's only longbows. And can they move? Can they snipe this in time? DeMusliM, instead he dives past it. He's not switching quick enough, and it means that the castle will be complete. And that is a much-needed defense, a buffer for Viper. However, it looks like DeMusliM doesn't care. He wraps north. He says that the keep is only a problem if I'm in range of it. So he's going to keep his troops away. Saint's Blessing buff coming out as well. And you can just see the damage being done. These knights, it's so trivial. This Spearman and Horse Archer composition is shredding Viper. And this is the other reason for the Horse Archers. Easily able to juke and drive away from the knights, and then easily able to gap close onto these longbows that have inferior health. And inferior damage. Damage done, he will back away. Comfortable with what he's done there. Viper crippled down to 17 military. DeMusliM now doubling him up in that field. Viper still with a clear, emphatic lead on the villagers, though. But it is going to be closed. Slowly but surely. Because now he's going to be under fire. Things could get a little bit fragile for him. DeMusliM still flying a lot of wood. He could afford to start dropping forward outposts, and yeah, there it is. As soon as I asked for it, I look, and yeah, he's already been getting them down. On the Sacred Site as well. Double Sacred Site for him, so he's getting even more gold trickle. Remember, he originally got 3 of the relics. That's why, despite this eco lead, it's not an eco lead, really, for Viper. Like, it's a villager lead. But the eco lead is with DeMusliM. In all fields, you can see it right now. Every once in a while, it switches back to Viper, but for the most, it's all in control for DeMusliM. Benny. All he has to do is keep expanding this network, choking his opponent in, because he knows eventually like, Viper's going to run out of resources. And yeah, you can talk about Imperial Age and the infinite generation of gold and food on farmlands for England, but you have to reach Imperial Age. And before you do that, you have to install a lot more defenses, right? You're going to need to keep to the south or keep to the north before you feel confident to do that play. And it means that DeMusliM, in the meantime, is just going to chill in the center, keep generating gold. And if you arrive in Imperial, you know he's going to be able to crack it as well because he's got that double TC, because he has got all that efficient economy coming out of the passive gold. I like this move by Viper. He needs raid value. I don't know if Veteran Horseman is really the way. Doesn't really have much more of a shout, though. Mangonel is dealing with him as well, so that's problematic. Second shot will come out. Ooh, nice dodge. So they'll find a few villages and start sniping. A wrap around the back as well. But a shift away just as quickly from DeMusliM onto his new wood line. You'll maybe extract a little bit of value, but Textiles is there. Really big shout out to DeMusliM. Like, so many players have got better at doing this. Viper as well. Textiles is phenomenal. It's been such a ridiculously underrated skill. Research, rather. I'm so glad that more players are starting to pick it up. It deserved the attention it's now getting. It's so powerful for just 200 resources. So, Horsemen are going to go down. Trivial damage, as we said. Not really able to find that maximum impact. They will be cleaned up. Villagers were forced all the way back. The Muslims are going to fix that now. So it shuts down part of his economy, draws his attention back, and that's what Viper wanted. He wanted actually to buy time to build up the outpost, to build up the siege workshops, because he knows what's coming now. Or what was coming. Mangonel's going to be burnt by the Horsemen. And those homing rocks are a little bit pesky, but the Horsemen are tanky enough. Really, the reason you want the Mangonels gone is this. The Lombos won't be able to take them on. And DeMusliM, his siege advantage is going to be closed. But if he ever manages to crack Imperial, it's going to come back in again. Because remember, that's a power spike timing for the Roots. Because they're able to get the cheaper siege weapons via the high armory, and they're also able to get additional range over other civs, having the longest range sprints in the game, notably over most civs. I mean, the only one that comes close to competing is the Mongols, and that's still a 0.5 difference that you just can't match. One more Horseman through. I mean, just turn your shifts. Surf them, show them what you're made of. And start the Roost Rebellion here. I mean, he really should kill this. There you go. He's got a horse archer coming over now, but I'd say just shiv him, because you're going to lose 1 or 2 villagers otherwise. There you go. A few horse archers coming in. We'll now address the Horsemen. It's just this really kind of superficial raid by Viper, right? He doesn't want to overinvest because he doesn't want to give a clear military lead to DeMusliM. But because he doesn't want to overinvest, he's not really doing enough damage. If he brings them in like groups of 5, 6 at a time, maybe they poke them down. Especially with this farmland expansion. This was very greedy from DeMusliM. I know he's running out of room in his primary base, but you could have kept it condensed. Like, look at this room over here. This is so far out there. The Mangonel's going to shift across now. More horse archers arriving, but because you have no natural defenses here, you are going to start losing villagers that otherwise could have easily survived. And it's all because Benny's trying to min-max, right? He doesn't want to have his villagers running to the other side of his base. It's understandable, but it is something that Viper understands as well and looks to exploit. Now more horsemen down the center. DeMusliM, I feel like it's just getting played a little here. I feel like Viper is kind of getting exactly what he wants. Like, he might not be, you know, destroying DeMusliM's economy, but what he's doing is destroying DeMusliM's military timing. So every time, like, he builds up this sort of force, he should be able to assault, right? He should be able to attack. He's not. Instead, he's running back with him like this. And this is crippling because every time he does this, it's another layer going up. Viper, he's playing a tower defense game, right? He's playing stronghold siege mode. He's like, okay, I'm going to set up a new part of the castle here. A new area for you to try and breach. And it's becoming really frustrating because not only is it layers upon layers of defenses you have to get through, it's layers upon layers of vision in the forest. And that's what's important for Viper, is with this Treb, getting the ability to just extract that value via sniping this vision is huge in this game. And it means that even when you have all this siege, you might not be able to use it. The first round of attack might just go to Viper because he's the one with the towers. Horseman round the back. Once again, just being pesky. And it's like I said, it's just you're paying the price of admission into the later phase of the game, right? You're just buying DeMusliM's attention. When he's trying to play a game and you just donate $20 to distract him and he looks away and then he loses the game. And that sort of feeling to it, right? Like, instead of ending the game, instead of being able to move in, he's always looking back at his base. And DeMusliM's finally clocked this. He's a smart cookie. He's like, no, I know what he's doing. He's making me dance to his tune, but it's time for you to dance. And it ain't going to be one of those fun kind of everybody do the Congo dances. No, instead, it's going to be one of those dance monkey dances as he shoots the shots at his feet. Like out of a Western movie. He'll move in and find the expansion. Denies that out. 5 villagers just going to die. And now that eco lead. I mean, DeMusliM clearly ahead. Viper now starting to fall behind. Whew. At least on the military side. Eco side is still comparative, but that's the issue. The military side. Viper needs good value. Springall's rolling out. Attack speed buff is what should give Viper the edge here, and that's the problem. DeMusliM, he moves too fast. His mangonels are not in position. The Springals might even snipe him out. He's playing without vision right now, and that's a problem. Mangonels, look at the shots. The staggered formation is good, though. And because you're using the melee force and the horse archers, it means the range advantage allows Viper to keep that staggered formation. Springals, they get the trays. Mangonels are all down, and now the push forward coming out from DeMusliM. The man-at-arms do have a lot of armor, but the archers have a lot of attack speed as well. And Viper refuses to give ground. Starts to snipe out the remaining horse archers. Man-at-arms will turn their attention towards the Springals now. Looking for the trade out. Because there's just too many Lombos here, and it just looks trivial, right? Like, it's not that much damage. You turn them into pin cushions, but you do eventually kill them. It's just the power of the Lombo. And still chasing these man-at-arms. The formation shuffles somewhat helping, but Viper realizing, oh, wait, I can't garrison them in the keep. Whoopsie. He's going to lose one. Probably lose the second one as well. I mean, I'd hope DeMusliM's going to play for that, but instead, trying to run away. I think he's got the control groups going to his disadvantage there. Mangonels will roll back, and look what Viper done in the meantime. He sniped out the Fort Siege Workshop. He's rapping forward with his own troops now. Viper, all of a sudden with the lead. Such a good defensive fight. DeMusliM should never have taken that. And all of a sudden, he's trailing by a notable 19 military units. It's Viper. I mean, he was appropriately on the 69. As he just sticks the middle finger up to DeMusliM and says, go F yourself. Get out of my base. That laugh is appropriate, as he knows how confident he is about his state in the game right now. DeMusliM was buffered away and will need to rethink this strategy. Really needs to get some trebs of his own, if anything. He needs to find a way of just breaching through these outposts, because right now, fighting underneath the network of castles is it's just losing him so many of these battles. But otherwise, he'd come out ahead. Now, 12 horsemen. This time, Viper, he could do some eco damage. This isn't just your 1, 2, or 3, I'm here to distract ye. Like, this is, I'm here to extract ye. Extract ye organs from your body. Viper, he does need to move to a new wood line right now. This is very inefficient. Yeah, so he has got that annoying transition ahead of him. So it's very important he doesn't lose the next fight. Otherwise, he's going to be trailing on the resources. And it's going to be a Berkshire Palace straight away to cover his northern front. And Viper, yeah, he understood. You could have doubled down the military. You could have tried to end the game then. Or you can play to your advantage. You can go attack ahead of the Rus here. And then you have that sheer power spike. The Golden Hat Longbowmen. The Bombards, which will instantly get through the defenses. So much to look forward to. And so much for DeMusliM to be scared of. Horsemen. DeMusliM has finally realized what they're doing here. We'll look to address them. Not really much value found there. Most of the villagers got away, limping away on next to no health. But overall, things looking good for Viper. And this, like we said, folks, you know, because of the current state of the M4C, Viper losing all his games. DeMusliM, second from, you know, I think he's just sitting in third right now with Beastie and Marine Law at the time of recording only people who haven't lost a game. It means that at this rate, it's possible if Viper loses today, he might not get a chance to match up against DeMusliM. But that would be a crime, as we're seeing here, because he's definitely giving DeMusliM a lot of uncomfortable things to think about in high view, as England of all the civs. Trebs just being a little bit annoying. Did he get the bowler upgrade? I think he did. No. Hasn't gone for it yet. Trebs. Arguably exposed. Oh, wait. What am I on about? Yeah, Viper and DeMusliM played day one, didn't they? I'm an idiot. Ignore me. Well, it'd be a crime if we don't get to see him again. Let's put it like that. Because I think this time around, like, I remember watching that series, I was thinking that this looks a little bit one-sided. I believe it was 3-1 was the final score. But this time around, Viper, he's looking a bit more formidable. Like, he's learned from his mistakes. But DeMusliM still posturing with those Mangonels. Mangonels not addressed just yet. Lombo staying out of range. And the crossbow transition as well. So Viper is prepping himself. But the Springles are here this time. DeMusliM, he understood his mistake and he's addressed it. But the Trebs are a problem. They're actually sniping him out. One Springald on the side. Little Tony, the Springy, is doing the work. It's going to force DeMusliM to go back into a bit of spring cleaning. Because once again, small raids coming into the back of his economy. Small horsemen move in. Going to force the villagers backing away. Remember, textiles makes it a little bit harder, but look how many of your farms are not working right now. That's going to be a hit. A required hit as well. That's going to slow DeMusliM down. Remember, DeMusliM, he's been locked in on Imperial. He keeps replacing his troops, which means he's not scaling up. Very important here. And horsemen around the back are once again going to be addressed, but DeMusliM, this is the problem. When you do this, look what moves in. The Lombos, they're in. Maganel's going to be sniped. He'll back away for the moment, but only to drop the campfires and heal up. Oh. It's a lot of plus signs. It's more pluses than I ever saw in my score reports. But he won't go in deep. He's still paranoid about where the Mangonels could be. But the horsemen, they're willing to go in deep. DeMusliM, there it is, underway with the tech up. He waited to rescale his military force to a decent number before doing this. And now marching forward with the cavalry. He's had enough of these shenanigans. He says, anything you can do, mate, I can do too. The difference is, once this tech up's complete, I can do it better. And remember, folks, these are still just veteran horsemen. Viper never upgraded them because his gold is limited. You can see right now, like, there's no safe gold in his base. He's been extracting on the dangerous gold, and that means he's going to be found here. Villagers chased away. Denied again. Horsemen butchered once again. So many horsemen dead. And imagine, when you invest this much in horsemen, why are they not upgraded still? Well, it's because of that limitation on the gold. He can't afford it. Want to prioritize the Longbowmen instead, understandably so. But the full keep now coming out from Viper. But tech up is there in DeMusliM. He's ready to get that rally going again. And with a double, triple siege workshop drop, this is going to be a problem for Viper. He might get outmassed at this rate. Income situation. Viper ahead on the wood, but that is literally it. And DeMusliM now getting that cheeky little discount on the siege units. It's going to add up. It's going to allow for him to trade out more efficiently. That means it's going to be more critical for Viper to play off of this keep and move into his opponent's base. The difference maker here really could be the Network of Castles attack speed buff. We need to use it well. DeMusliM, it's his turn for some shenanigans. He's had enough of this. We'll see if the damage is going to be good enough, but he is going to wrap in now onto the eco lines. It's farmlands, so they're pretty well spread out. Viper should react to it in a moment, but he's prepping himself. He's staging for an assault of his own. Horsemen are going to get butchered by the knights and the counter horsemen coming out, as both of them are vetted up. And moving with his own horsemen, not able to find that much value though. What he needs is the movement with the main force. Trebs are up, sieging through the farmlands. DeMusliM is going to draw some more attention as more troops peel back. But it looks like Viper, this is just rally points. He'll finally realize they're there. But decent value found. A bunch of these villages were sniped. That is going to slow down 3 of his farmland pockets as well. That might give him the lead because both of them, they're not really rolling surplus. You can see Viper's running out of resources right now. Horsemen move in the meantime, but cleaned up so quick. But the Longbowmen are not addressed. That is the problem right now for DeMusliM. DeMusliM definitely has a surplus advantage, but he needs a way of using it. So many arrows coming out. Get lit or die trying in this situation as the fire arrows are trying to light fire everything. Trebs as well, slowly getting through the infrastructure. Pushing deeper into DeMuslim's base, but now the Springals are going to come out, and this is where you're in problem town. 12 tower range. Compare that to Trebs at 16. Yeah, you have to get a little bit closer. But don't worry, folks. It gets better. Why stop at 12 when you can go to 13.5? Very easy to snipe out these trebs now. Yes, they still have the range advantage, but if you look away for a moment, they're going to die. Viper. He has moved past that awkward transition we talked about into the new woodlines. But it didn't come for free. Like we said, he got sniped out on the back. He's got to replace those villagers there. And that's why Viper slows down. He's a smart cookie. He understands that he can't afford to keep pushing and replacing, so he shouldn't keep pushing. But what you can do is keep pushing your luck with more keeps. Second one going down. Starting to choke in DeMusliM. Boxing him in, making it a little bit more uncomfortable, and keeps on the north side. He is going to protect his gold interest up here as well. And this is getting difficult. This is shifting back. I mean, we warned about the potential DeMusliM in the late game situation, but credit where credit is due. Viper cracking that Imperial Age first really did give him the edge. And it feels like DeMusliM has been reacting ever since. He's finally going to drop the University. I think that's his first one as well. He's been so gold capped because he has to keep pushing out new siege units that he never got the upgrades. And I think if we look on the other side, yeah, there's the big difference right there. You could have noted it in that fight. Like, it's incendiary arrows. We already saw them coming out. They're effective. And also now, underway with biology, because of his heavy reliance on the horsemen, Viper understands that just making this cannon fodder, this tanky frontline unit even better, definitely worth investing in. He does still need to get the tech up, though. I'm kind of surprised that we're still not seeing elite horsemen yet, considering how many he's built. I'm starting to think he actually forgot about it. Ah, the goat would never do that. Moving in, distraction again. Gold hats are coming out now for DeMusliM as his man-at-arms are juiced up in the elite status. The Magos will scare away the ranged army of Viper. Viper, this is one of his limitations. The crossbowman and longbowman. Old mans with walking sticks, really, in this situation. Which is a fitting way to describe them as you see them walk next to a monk. They're barely faster. I reckon a hedgehog could cross a road quicker than these lads. The horsemen are in again. Viper, he's nothing if not persistent. It's like one of those adorable movies where, you know, you ask the person out, and then you ask him out again, and then you ask him out again. Back when it was cute, not like these days when we realize how creepy it is. This right here was back in the days where this is a little bit of an adorable thing to do. Oh, and now he has a problem. I don't know if he's realized it yet, but he's still got veteran horsemen. He's up against elite horsemen. This is not going to be a good trade for him long term. However, if he can snipe Spring Wheels, it's damn well going to be worth it. Moves in. These horsemen find good value right now, burning so many of them. I mean, even with the discounts, this is a really good trade for Viper. These Spring Wheels still cost 400 resources each, and that hurts. Basically, all of them gone to a small group of horsemen like that. Oh, that's frustrating. Viper pushing out even more of these horsemen. I mean, if this is what this lad can do with veteran horsemen, imagine what this would be if they were elite. That's all I can say, folks. I mean, he can definitely afford it now. But still, just for going at this entire time, he's got huge surplus as well. He's definitely forgotten. Guys, I'm calling it now. Like, I wish I had him like added, you know, on Steam specifically, so I could just message him like, did you forget about the upgrade in this? Obviously, I wouldn't distract him in this tournament, but I imagine he forgot about elite horseman status because there is no way, with what has clearly been like, I don't know, we must be close to 100 push since Imperial Age, that you would not upgrade to elite in that time. Maybe it's the weird, unique look of the English horseman that made him think he had the gold hats. But he should have known. And the keep just buffering away DeMusliM. DeMusliM getting the bad news about how strangled in he is becoming. And that's worrying as well. It's not just the fact you can't move out. It's the fact that when you do move towards these, when you do start a fight, it's a 50% attack speed buff. Roughly, for England. Remember, the values are a little bit skewed, so some units don't get the full 50%. Some get notably a lot less. But horsemen, longbows, they get a decent chunk of it. And bombards now. DeMuslim's had enough of this. Keeps going to fall. You'll be able to blow up one of them. Longbows trying to move in, but too many man-at-arms here. The Mangonel scare is big as well. Viper, yeah, he got rid of the Springles, but he doesn't have his own to deal with all these Mangonels, and that's the real problem here. It feels like Viper, this over-reliance on horsemen, it's good to an extent, but the moment you show your face in the north, DeMusliM understands what he can do in the east. The Horsemen doing their dance, just trying to extract the value off the villagers. But in the meantime, Viper now having to fall back after losing that keep, and all of a sudden, DeMusliM is going to start to carve his way across the map. Viper, he needs the Springles quick. He's starting to push him out. Could be even faster, really. It's kind of interesting. I wonder how many players remember that they can actually push siege weapons out of keeps. Because I feel like barely any players do. But it's such a big value, right? Like, your ability to just, with this many keeps on the front, imagine how quickly you could have amassed a Springald army. And Viper, although he suffers on the wood, he could have afforded it to an extent, right? You trade for some of it, maybe dial a little back on the Lombo production, because you don't really lose that many anyway. And in theory, you should be able to get enough Springals out, but I think Viper just doesn't want to play into them at all, because he's up against the Roost, because he knows if he's Springal on Springal, he's going to lose. And that's why he relies so much on the Horsemen. But now, finally, he sees the opportunity to go into his own Springals. Mangonel's being burnt through quick. Bombards need to be addressed next, and that's a lot of damage done. Just 5 health left. One little Lombo. Timmy, no! Cannonball to the face will deny him. 3 health left on that Bombard. And DeMusliM, the main army is arriving. They've cleaned up the vanguard. They've cleaned up the distraction force in the north. Now they can march forward. And Viper, he's running out of troops fast. You can kind of feel it, right? He's capped himself again, but it's the eco difference. Remember, DeMusliM, he can have a comparative economy with less invested because of all the gold trickle he was getting out of the relics for so long. And that causes a little bit of a problem for Viper. Viper luckily able to kind of stabilize himself now, as you can see, due to the power of England farms in the late game, right? With the enclosure, you see, oh, sorry, every time I see the gold come up like that, I feel good. I mean, look how much it's generating, folks. It's phenomenal gold income for him. But you got to give credit where credit is due. I mean, DeMusliM, just look at the numbers, right? He's got 0 people on gold. He's generating over half that of Vipers as late game England. I mean, that gives full credence to the power of hunting cabins, the passive gold from the relics, like all of it. However, once again, DeMusliM is going to be forced off of his farmlands. However, this time, he's not going to return to base to address it. Instead, he's going to move straight in towards Vipers. Charge in. Springald trades coming out. Magos need their shots right now. They need to assist as it stands. Not able to do so. Villagers pushing forward, looking for some sort of keep drop maybe. Or maybe just a misclick. But it looks like for the moment, Viper is holding, but he's running out of troops fast. But DeMusliM more scared right now. Horsemen, reinforcements coming in. This should be where he renews the charge in. The Bombards are going to look to trade out, dealing with the Horsemen before they get burnt to a crisp. Wraparound coming in from the spears and the man-at-arms should address the English Horsemen, but they're doing decent damage. They're sniping them out. The Springals as well. The Bombards are all falling. And that's a problem. DeMusliM, a heavy investment, lost the Springals AFK on the side as they weren't addressing the counter-siege from Viper. And Viper, all of a sudden, able to turn around and clean up. Horsemen in, onto the Springals. They're going to fall as well. And Viper, with so many Longbos still here, and with so few troops left for DeMusliM, it's going to be a rout. He has to run and hide in his base. And he has not got much to hide behind. 1 or 2 wooden fortresses stands between the Viper and victory as it stands here. More Horsemen coming out. DeMusliM needed them on the front much quicker than this, though. And now the Mago play from Viper. This is what he needed. With so many Springals burnt, with DeMusliM running out of gold to extract in the back of his base. It's hard for him to replace all the siege that's been lost, and that really has been the difference maker. Viper, time and time again, assassinating these Springals, and now a fight commencing with the Horsemen wrapping in on the Lombos. Mago shots coming out. Horsemen drawing the attention of DeMusliM's main armies. He moves on to the Mangonels at the back of the Roost formation. In the meantime, Horsemen, this count is not strong enough. The Lombos can push them back again, and DeMusliM needs to get back on the front, and he needs it now. But the man-at-arms are slow. And Viper, he's damn good at what he's doing here. Drawing the attention, the aggro away every time, but now the Mangonels are exposed. Horsemen in. DeMusliM has had enough of this. He will push in on the siege himself. And he's still got his own Mago army. Bombards as well. He's prepped for this. Viper back into his own territory. The attack speed buff once again in his favor to try and deal with the threat, but DeMusliM continues to plow on in. And Viper, it feels like he's being somewhat drained, but he has plenty in reserve. DeMusliM, however, he really is living on a prayer right now. No food held in reserve means that if he loses this army, he loses this game. And DeMusliM will not let up. But Viper is just as relentless. And now pushing out with the Elite Knights. This could be the difference maker. Something that DeMusliM was not prepped for. Viper, with the late game transition, now has the edge. And after all that, DeMusliM, he has to rethink this. Because his formation, it doesn't really have spears in it anymore. And he needs to fix that fast. the meantime, Horseman once again wrapping in. DeMusliM, look at the damage done, down to 70 eco units. He knows when it's done. He will call it. Viper clearly outscaling him in the late game England economy, proving exactly why, statistically, this Civ is on the rise in the hyper late game situation. Will take an unorthodox win over the Rus on Highview. Woo! All right, that one was good. That one should have been in the official M4C. Holy crap. LeSnake, looking damn good in that one. I mean, it's got to be said, that was actually phenomenally played by him. It could have went either way. Like, really, I think it was just really well played by Viper. Like, you don't, how to put this? When you're playing the same compositions in a stalemate for, like, 30 minutes, right? Like, you're there 15, 20 minutes, however long it is, you're just playing the same composition, which is what they're doing, right? The only thing they were really changing was Siege. Everything else was kind of like, same old, same old, same old, same old. And you get to, like, that stage in the game, and your opponent is like, Knights! Wait, what? That wasn't part of the agreement, man. You're meant to only go longbows, crossbows, and horsemen. Like, it just catches you off guard. But it's so smart by Viper. He understands that he's got the infrastructure for it, right? He's spent the whole game pushing out horsemen. You know he can afford it. And then he just switches the Knights like that. Bada bing, bada boom. It's so simple. It takes such an emphatic victory in that last fight that DeMusliM understands with the limited resources in the back of his base, he can't afford to replace. In the meantime, that game, like, it's so well budgeted. What do you have surplus of as England? Food. What do horsemen cost? Food. So what are you doing? You're trading food for wood and gold, the limited resources. It's what allows him to eke out that advantage, and it means that DeMusliM is frustratingly replacing so many springballs. Like, I would love to see just Siege statistics alone. How many Siege weapons died? Because I feel like it was double the number of what Viper lost, and that really was the difference maker. And they're more pricey as well when you go to these bombards time and time again, something that Viper never did himself. Just really well played by Viper to understand the leveraged advantages of his economy in the late game situation to extract value out of the Rus, not combating them directly at all times in the artillery department because they have an edge, and instead taking the edge economically so you can easily take the win.